Studio Captions and Advertising here. We got a special guest today. We're on episode 4 of Entrepreneur TV. I'm here with TJ. Is it Simone or Simon?
Simone.
Simone. Okay. I thought so. Yeah, that's the Spaniard side of me wanting to pronounce it Simone. So
Right.
is that Spaniard or is that
Italian.
Italian? Oh yeah, that's right. You told me that.
That
Yeah.
was my great-grandmother's last name.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're with TJ Simone here, Thomas Simone from Craftsman Consulting. And, we really just want to dive into, who you are, what you do, how you got started in your business,
Yeah.
and kind of how that came to fruition. So if you want to give us a little rundown, just where you're from and
Sure.
what it was like to
Yeah.
get.
So if you want to go way back, born and raised in New York for 18 years. Lower part of New York, like Rockland County, close to Manhattan. Moved around a bunch. Lived in Dallas for a couple years, right after New York. Went over to Florida, lived in Daytona Beach. So I went over there to go to motorcycle tech school. And I became Harley-Davidson certified. And that's really kind of where I can trace things back as far as, different careers and different trades and whatnot. That was like the first step that kind of led me to where I'm at.
So New York, lower New York. How long did you
Yeah.
live there before you started moving around?
We moved out of New York when I was 18.
18?
Yeah.
Okay. How was it living in New York? There's got to be lots of people, crazy,
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
I don't hear a New York accent, though. You've been gone long enough.
No, yeah. My wife tells me if I get really mad,
Yeah.
the accent comes out. So she knows when I'm really pissed off about something. 'Cause I sound like it.
The New Yorker coming out here. Yeah. So 18,
Yeah.
you move around to Dallas, and you're still just kind of hanging out, working, going to college. What are you doing in Dallas?
Yeah, so when we moved to Dallas, I ended up starting in culinary arts. I went to just a community college down there and did a culinary arts program. The cooking side of things was not a problem. I love to be moving around, working with my hands, fast-paced environment. That was no problem there. And
What school is that?
it was just a community college.
Okay.
They call it Quad C, Collin County Community College.
Like a year, 2 years?
Yeah, so it was the hotel and restaurant management degree, so an associate's. You can basically step into management in some way or another in the restaurant industry. But I like to cook, so when it came time to let's be a manager of a restaurant, I was like, that's not me.
So when did that choice come up? You do the 2 years of community college. You're
Yeah.
learning. Are you working while you're going to school, or?
Yeah, I was in the food service industry, so waiting tables, bartending, kitchen work. Right. I had a restaurant one time where the chef quit, and the owner was like, "You went to culinary school, right? We're cooking today," and I was like, "Hold on, time out, what?" But yeah, so about 5 years in the restaurant industry, just doing a little bit of everything.
In Dallas, mainly?
Yeah, in the Dallas area.
So
yeah.
when you're 23, 22, when you decide to move to Florida?
Yeah, I kind of got burnt out on, the restaurant industry, like a lot of people do. Service, that type of service.
It's a swinging door kind of with the restaurant business. People coming in, going out. It's hard to kind of move up, really. I think the raises
Yeah.
are $1.50 at first for the first year, or from what I've seen, and then it takes another year to get to 20. So and then there's only so many levels you can go up before you gotta open up your own franchise or do something like that.
Right.
So you get burnt out around 23, 24, and then how does Florida come into the picture?
Well, so that was where the motorcycle tech school was based out of, Daytona Beach.
Where'd you hear that at? Were you researching or kind of?
That was back in, you remember the West Coast Choppers
Yeah.
and Orange County Choppers, the guys from New York, right? Like that whole early 2000s, that whole scene like really blew up. It was right around that time. And
So did you see like a bit? It was a kind of a business idea, like, well, this is a big thing. If I get into learning how to fix these up, a lot of people are doing that. Or how did that thought process work for you?
it was a combination of things. Like I had an old muscle car in high school that me and my friends were always working on, and had an interest in motorcycles and hot rods and stuff like that. And the timing of getting burnt out on the food service business, and then being at a point where it was like, I have to make a decision here. I have to, you know, go to school for something. I have to do something. Had to make a change, right? It was basically just, almost desperation. But I knew that I had interest in, still working with my hands, like in that type of environment, and just the interest of, like I said, hot rods and motorcycles, and then at the time, just the influence of, West Coast Choppers and all of those custom bike builders. It was like, I want to be a part of that, in some way. So
that's tech school in Daytona Beach.
yeah. Yeah.
So how was Daytona Beach? Was it like a lot any partying? Were you just focused? Like, what was your life like out there, and how long were you there for?
Yeah. So the school program was like 8 months. It was a pretty like full-time course, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. So I had hustled for like a year before I started school, and I saved up enough money where I could just go to school. I didn't have to work, and I could just focus on going to school. Yeah, there was a little bit of partying,
Daytona Beach,
yeah, right? So,
24, 25 years old.
yeah. But I was pretty focused on school. It was something that I had to do, right? It wasn't, I was kind of at a point in my life where it was like, I have to do this. It's not just, fresh out of high school and, I'll go try it out and, see what happens, right?
So you get any action out there, or like action as in the motorcycle stuff though? Like, do you you're going to school, learning, and then how long are you out there for after school ends?
Yeah, so I ended up staying for, I think it was about 4 years. I ended up working at a Harley Davidson dealership for a short amount of time. Kind of realized again, kind of like the service industry, like you had mentioned before, like owning a restaurant, is really where you make it. I was actually working at a dealership, and then in the afternoon, evenings, when my shift was done, I was working at a gas station across the street just to like still make some extra income. And I remember one day the owner of the dealership came in to the gas station, and he did a double take, and he goes, "Don't you work for me?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And he's like, "What are you doing here?" And I said, I'm still struggling, trying to make ends meet." And he just kind of shrugged it off, and he goes, "No one's going to hand you anything in life, are they?" And I was like, "No, you're right." So again, that was kind of like another eye opener of like, do I want to work for people for the rest of my life and, still be right struggling to make,
working 2 jobs, and it's still like, okay,
after school, right? School loans due, and
you got that vision or that dream, like where you see yourself being, whether it's like a homeowner or living on the beach or whatever it is, and you see these other people living these lives, and you're like, well,
right.
I want a good life, I want things, and it's like I'm working every day all the time, and and I can't. It's trying to see where you're gonna cross that line at and be able to be there. And you're like, I don't know if this is gonna get me there.
Right.
So that's the thought that you had, or like the realization is like, this what I'm doing might not get me.
Right.
It's where I'm trying to get to. Is that where your entrepreneur mindset starting to kick in, where it's like, I need to be an owner, I need to be a brand?
Yeah, I've always had a desire to run a business, be my own boss. It was really just a matter of like doing it.
Yeah.
You know, it took a long time for me to feel confident, just with everything in life. Like, do I have skills? You know, am I confident in my living situation, right? Do I have a steady household where I can, you know, make that type of a jump?
And sometimes you get to the point where you realize, like, well, I'm not going to be in a perfect situation. Take this leap of faith. Like, if I don't take this leap of faith, am I ever going to do it?
Right.
So what was that leap of faith for you? Like, what were you jumping into? Where you walked away? Oh, did you walk away from the tech or the dealership at the Harley spot? So you walk away from that, walk away from the gas station.
Mm-hmm.
And where was your leap of faith at? Where was your mindset?
So at that time, I was still trying to focus on, you know, doing something within, you know, that motorcycle world. You know, and I kind of realized that, right, working at the dealership is kind of like the, you know, the maintenance side of things, right? As a tech, or, you know, selling parts or selling bikes, right? Dealership is kind of one side of the industry. And I was still interested in like developing my skills as a mechanic overall. I got to weld a little bit when I was in the tech school. And welding was, you know, it's really fun. It's kind of cool to build stuff with steel, you know?
Yeah. You gotta feel like a real man. Like, you're just like, you know, just burning a melting metal down and connecting it, you know?
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. It pays well. So there was a shipyard in Florida, you know, a lot of boat building going on. And I had a friend who, I don't know, knew somebody at a shipyard. So I ended up leaving the dealership. I went over to the shipyard, and they were building personal yachts for people. At the time that I worked there, the boat we were working on was like 180 feet long, like deep sea, you know, adventure type ships, you know, not just around the coastline. Like, you can take this thing around the world.
And you're building it from scratch? You guys are starting with the frame?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. It takes a couple years. So at the time that I started there, they had already been, you know, in progress with it for quite some time. So the like the frame of everything was built, and the lower portion of the ship, they were just starting to like they were starting to finish like all the big giant sheets of steel that they were mounting to the frame of the ship, and we were like cutting those sheets of steel and welding them in place. And so I was like got to get exposed more to the welding and steel fabrication type work.
Yeah, I'm seeing where like it's coming into play now, the craftsmanship, where it's like you're building these yachts 150 feet. They're basically like homes because the people are on them for months at a time, you know. Yeah. So starting from scratch, where, you know, the frame was already built, but now you're building the rooms or the floors, or you know, I'm sure they have shower. I've never been on a 150-foot yacht. I'm sure they have showers and whatnot in there. So the plumbing, you know, the electricity, like you're learning all these different skills, which is like a house on water, learning how to build a house on the water.
Yep.
So how long are you doing this for? How long did that boat take specifically?
That, I think I was there for over a year. And we had gotten to a point where we were starting to work on the inside, like all of the, like you just said, the plumbing and electrical and all that kind of infrastructure. I was working with the pipe fitting crew. So we were like reading prints, and they were, you know, teaching me how to read prints and lay out, you know, copper pipes for different water runs and sprinkler systems and stuff like that. So at that point is where I pretty much parted ways with the shipyard there. It seemed like Florida, it's a big retirement community, right? So I think I was making $14 an hour.
When working tough work.
Yeah. And they were an independent company. Safety was a concern. There were, a couple guys got hurt, and, you start hearing the stories of, the foreman who's running the job, and, kind of just an eye opener of like, it's a business, they're making it happen, but, it's like no regulations, no safety, anything.
They get it happen by the chin on their chinny, on the hair on their chin, just barely.
Yeah. We had, we didn't even have like hard hats, safety glasses, or anything like that. And at one point, I guess with insurance, they came in and said, all right, everyone's got to wear hard hats now. And I mean, you got to imagine telling like 100 grown men, from Florida working in a shipyard who have been doing this forever that they've got to put a hard hat on now. Like,
like what?
It was a mutiny.
Well, it's been a year we've been doing this. It was a hard hat.
Life. Yeah, right. Like these guys had no, so at that point,
you learned a bunch though.
Yeah.
You learned a lot. You feel like that was like kind of a trade-off, because I hear that a lot. It's like sometimes you're getting paid a little less, but the knowledge and information you're getting is so vast that it's like, okay, by the time I do walk away, your next job or next position is, you're going to know that much more, be able to get paid that much more because you were able to learn so much. Was that valuable for you, even though you weren't getting paid as much as you would have liked? The knowledge, and so you walk away from there, and where was your next step? So you're in Florida, Daytona Beach, working on the shipyard. $14 an hour, doing this, crazy work that's like, you can get hurt doing. You got to be very precise. You got to be smart, know how to read these schematics and these layouts and put this copper piping in. And then you're like, okay, this just isn't making sense right now.
Right.
Where do you go? Now you have an apartment? You're living at a friend's?
No,
on the beach?
We were like right across the street from the beach.
Oh, man.
So we moved north of Daytona to a little town called Flagler Beach, and we landed like this little 1-bedroom bungalow right across the street from the ocean. It was sweet.
Right across from the ocean.
Yeah, so I would come home from the shipyard like, a hot, sweaty mess, go inside, grab a beer. My girlfriend, wife now, but girlfriend at the time, she'd be home, and we'd grab a couple beers and walk across the street and go sit in the ocean for the rest of the evening.
How are the sunsets in Florida?
It was great.
Yeah,
it's great. Everything.
Did they compare to Arizona sunsets? Is it or?
It's different. It's different. Arizona has some epic sunsets, and
the ocean is something that, like, when I first went to the ocean in Los Angeles, well, not in Los Angeles, but on the beach west, like Malibu. When I first seen the ocean, it was such a huge feeling where it just felt like endless. Like it did something inside of me to where I felt it. I just felt like so small, and like the world was so vast.
Right.
It just does something. So I think being able to see that every day was probably just something does something to you inside.
I like to think that we've got obviously some connection with water. How much of this is water?
At least 70 to 80,
right?
Something like that.
So I mean, that's life for us.
It's kind of
without food. You need water.
Can't go without water. Right. They say, like, I think we're 70 to 80% of water. I forget the exact number. And then the Earth is like 70 to 80% water, which is kind of a crazy coincidence if there is such a thing.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of wild.
Yep.
So you're in Florida, you walk away from that spot, you move up north, and you get a new place.
Yep.
What are you doing at that point for work or for?
That was when, so the shipyard was just a little further north.
So you're still working shipyard?
Yeah, so we moved out of Daytona, went up to Flagler. I was working at the shipyard.
How long were you there for at the shipyard?
It was over a year.
Over a year?
Yeah. So just in that year's time, like I said, like, learning and then kind of getting into things and looking at like the environment and is this the best environment for me to be in. I started to consider unions, right? Because unions are kind of held at a higher standard, right?
You got someone looking out for you, making sure you're getting paid fairly.
Yeah.
Safety precautions, like, communicating with owners and the blue collar guys, are just making sure everybody's on the same page.
Right.
Yeah. So what union do you get into? Do you get into one?
Yeah. So I joined the elevator union. It's the IUEC, International Union of Elevator Constructors.
Okay.
And so,
how does that work? Because I've never been a part of a union.
Yeah.
Maybe I should think about joining one. But
yeah, I think they do have one
for production. Yeah.
Audiovisual, right?
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Just started researching different unions, and the elevator union was one of the highest paid unions out there. And
how do you get in? Like, what do you do? Is it an application process?
Yep. There's an application process. So we went out to California. I was like,
you fly out?
Let's go to California. So we went out to California to check out the Bay Area. And
love the Bay Area.
It's nice, man. It's, we miss it. I miss it from time to time. All the politics and everything, though, and just the way that the state is managed, it was frustrating.
Yeah, California was definitely something else when it comes to that.
Yeah, but so being the Bay Area, being California, even for as far as unions are considered, like they're one of the highest paid markets out there. So we took a trip out to the Bay and just to see what it was like. Had never been. Took my girlfriend Megan with me, and it just so happened that when we were visiting out there, the local 8 union out of San Francisco, they had their open enrollment period for new apprentices to apply, and come to find out that only comes up like every 2 years.
Like timing is crazy. Just to be there.
Yeah. So it was, I spoke with some local union reps down at the union hall and just kind of explained, what I've been doing, and I'm interested in, a better, way of life. And they told me, that the open enrollment period was ending like that week. So he said, if you are interested, you basically have to apply today, like right now. So I said, let's go for it. The biggest hook for me was when I told him that I was welding, and he was asking, what are you getting paid now? What are you doing? And I said, I've been doing a lot of welding, and I'm making pretty good money, $14 an hour in Florida, right? And he goes, if you come out and join the union and you're welding, even as an apprentice, they'll pay you as a mechanic. He goes, you could be making $90,000 a year. And I was like, whoa, okay, that's huge. That's huge. So filled out the application, submitted the application, and then you had to take an aptitude test, right? So testing all of your skills for, math, hands-on reading and writing and, interpretation of material, right? Can you follow a manual and apply it to something, right? So we were still living in Florida. I was flying back and forth. I flew out to California to take the tests. If you passed the test and you got a decent grade, then you were asked to come back and interview. So flew back out for an interview. Had to sit with a panel of union elevator guys and, kind of get grilled about the job. And
you're 26, 27 all the time?
Yeah, I think so.
So you're a little nervous? Still,
Definitely. I mean, it was a huge opportunity, and I was investing all this time and money,
flights,
right?
back and forth. Yeah.
You technically, to join the union in that local, wherever you're at, you have to be living there. So I was just using someone else's address, and I was flying back and forth. Mm-hmm. I was like, I live right there.
Send me a letter, I'll get it. Yeah. Send it in.
But I interviewed. I tested well. I interviewed really well. They take those two numbers, they combine them, average everything out with all the applicants, and that kind of gives you a number on the lists for new applicants, right? So, a couple weeks later, I was back in Florida, called the hall, and they said, you did really well. I think I was in like the top 20 or 30, something like that. And he said, things are moving fast, right? We're busy. So, when they call, it doesn't matter where you're working at, who you're working for. The expectation is that when the union calls and says, get ready for work tomorrow, you're expected to drop everything and be there.
So being in Florida, did you feel like, that might be an issue because I'm going to be in Florida, they're going to call, I'm going to have to get the flight the day of?
Yeah, no. So we made the decision right then and there to, basically make a move out to the Bay Area. So I was ready, for that opportunity.
And how long? So this is like not even knowing for sure I'm going to have a job or for sure there's going to be an opportunity, but having faith, what they're telling you, what you're believing. You get out to the Bay Area. You guys are staying somewhere, have a hotel, apartment, friends' house?
Yeah, we got an apartment.
Apartment, okay, living out there.
Right.
How long until you get that call? Or do you...
So, we have to think about what year this was, right? So we move out there, and it was, if I remember correctly, like right at the beginning of 2007, right? Mm-hmm. So things are still pretty good for a minute, right? There's a little slowdown, I'm out there, we're staying in the apartment, kind of hanging out, right? Had a little cash saved up, and we basically just sold everything in Florida and flew out there, and, checking in with the union and, it's a little slow right now. Don't worry, it'll pick back up, right? And, next thing you know, 2008 hits,
market,
right?
Boom.
Yeah, and the whole bottom fell out.
Jeez.
So yeah.
So what do you even think? What horrible time. So what are you even thinking at that point? Like you're out there, market falls. Are you like? There's virtually hard to get a job, tough to get a job. People aren't hiring for.
Right.
So what are you doing? Like what are you thinking? Like what's your I'm trying to figure out how you go, like, you go out there with all this hope and inspiration, and it's about to come through, 90,000 a year. You're thinking all this gonna happen. I got to be here. Move your girl and your friend. I think your girl and your friend both move all the way out to California.
Just my girlfriend.
What 1,400 miles away, I think, or something like that. Or
like 2,000
miles away,
coast to coast.
And then now no job opportunities. Mm-hmm. So what? How do you get out of that?
Yeah. So. So we'd been there, for a minute. We had, started to make friends and connections and everything. And I knew a guy who was working in telecommunications at the time, cell towers, right? Mm-hmm. And there was, in 2008, right, 2009, there was one thing that no one gave up, and that was, cell phones, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. So he was just a friend, and he was working for a company who was pretty much like a startup kind of company, independently owned, right? And they were growing because, like I said, it was telecom, cell sites, cell towers. Mm-hmm. And he said he was working for them in their warehouse and hated it. And he said, I want out of this warehouse, and I want to be in the office, right? So come over.
Yeah, come take this position.
So I can put you in the
that's how it works. Yeah,
absolutely. And like at the time, right? It was just my wife and I, or a girlfriend at the time, but still, right? Bills had to get paid.
Have to, yeah. You're like, hey, if you're hiring,
if you're hiring and you're busy, right? Like everyone's getting laid off right now. And yes, I went over and pretty much walked in and, got a job and started working with them, and found myself working in telecommunications for the next 5 years. Mm-hmm. So we were building cell towers, right? So, pouring a concrete pad and stacking a tower and hanging antennas off of a tower. I was still in the warehouse, right? So I got out into the field a little bit to see how, that process worked.
Still working with your hands, still doing some heavy duty stuff.
Yeah. Warehousing was pretty cool. Logistics, You know, it was fun for a while there. You know, just taking all materials in and having to organize stuff and make sure that the field guys were set up. Here's, you know, a couple pallets, that's you, this job, you know, so.
So how do you, so I'm trying to figure out where the line is to where you come from, Northern California.
Yeah.
And then you end up in Arizona and you have this business now.
Yeah.
Where do those connect at? Like how do you jump from Florida to Northern California and then find that Arizona is the best place for you and your family?
Yeah.
And you start the business out here?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, so
after, I was in telecom for 5 years. I got that call from the union in 2014 because I was still on the list, right?
Yeah. That's list. Like not 8.
It was 5 years.
So, yeah, okay, 5 6 years. Yeah.
Yep. So, you know, they said, hey, you know, are you still interested? And I said, yeah, I think so. Because I was kind of topping out in, you know, the telecom stuff I was doing. I wound up managing, being like a field tech and troubleshooting cell sites and launching new sites into the market, right? Giving them the green light to go.
Wow.
And so the union called in 2014, and I said, yeah, I'll still take that opportunity. There was a bigger potential for growth there. Mm-hmm. So quit. Well, I had to walk in my boss's office and say, I quit today. I'm out. Thank you. Joined the union. Worked for the union up in the Bay Area for about 6 years. Did everything from building elevators, like new construction, to repair, maintenance, tech, troubleshooting again. And then just transferred. So anywhere in the country, if there's a union that you're a part of, you can transfer.
That's neat.
It was pretty cool. It was kind of like a, you know, travel ticket, right?
Yeah. Kind of like a job opportunity, job lined up anywhere you want to go.
Yeah. Wow. Again, like not really guaranteed that there's going to be work, but, you know. So, yeah, after living in California it ended up being like 10, 12 years, something like that. You know, we got out and he said, it was a choice. Do we want to go north where it's cold, or do we want to go south where it's warm? So we just said, let's go south. Let's go to Phoenix. Yeah. And so I transferred with the union down here and worked with the union here for a couple years. And it just kind of got to another point. So it was about 9 years in total with the elevator union, and just got burnt out on working for other people, not being able to do things the way that I want to do them. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, you know, when I'm in charge of a project and it's my decision with how things go, I want to make that project, you know, the best that it can be. I want the result to be the best that it can be, right?
Yeah, like every passion. Time. Yeah, the
every time. Yeah. There's so much with different trades. All in all, I have about 20 years of different trade experience. There's so much work out there that the quality has gone away, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what I was kind of like, that's why I started with a union in the first place. And then I kind of realized that the union doesn't really have much control over how different elevator companies run their business, mm-hmm. right? The union is there to supply people to those companies. At the end of the day, those elevator companies, that's their business, mm-hmm. and they'll run it how they want to.
That leads me to like this question is like, what does make, you know, your business as Craftsman Consulting, what makes your business different than the next, well, let me ask this first. What's the difference between Craftsman Consulting and like a handyman?
Yeah, so I am a handyman.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't have a problem, you know, saying that I'm a handyman company, but I like to describe Craftsman Consulting as bridging the gap between handyman and a general contractor, right? So, you know, I have no problem coming in and swapping out a couple ceiling fans for you, you know, garbage disposal, right?
So every craftsman is a handyman, but not every handyman is a craftsman.
Sure.
Like
yeah. And if you want to step up to a bigger project, right? If you're ready to remodel your bathroom, we can take on a bathroom remodel.
Yeah, I've seen some of the remodels you do, like, because in the networking meeting that we're in at BNI, you talk about some smaller projects you've done, but then I look on the Instagram,
Right.
and I see some, like, whole kitchens that are, like, redone that you've done, or the whole bathrooms, and I'm like, oh, okay, like, he's doing big projects, like, completely remodeled.
Right.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, it looks really nice. So, that basically what makes you different is that you can do a variety of things.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a big project, small project, the passion you put into it.
Right.
Yeah, so
There's a need there. There's a need for that, for someone to still fill in those smaller jobs.
yeah,
Right.
definitely.
It's kind of been I've seen that it's a natural progression where people start off as like a handyman doing the small projects, and then you grow into the bathroom and kitchen remodels and stuff like that. And a lot of guys want to just chase that and become a general contractor, right? Essentially.
I'm sure you're at certain jobs and there's like either big jobs and they're like, hey, can you also knock these other things out that I didn't think, somebody, my husband hasn't been able to do, or so-and-so isn't coming to do it.
Right.
Or you're on a smaller job, they're like, hey, I have this whole project here. And you're like, actually, we can go ahead and knock that out too.
Right.
This is what we can do.
Right.
So that's great to have like all those different skills.
That's been the mindset, right?
Yeah.
If I'm meeting a customer for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
and I get called out to swap out a ceiling fan, it's an opportunity for me to be presented to that client, right? So I don't turn down small jobs.
Yeah.
Because they need someone, right? I'm there to help.
I might be mixing two of your stories, but I know you told me somebody needed a job, something replaced, and you did it for free. You showed up, you're in charge, but it was such a small job. You're like, hey, I'll just knock this out for you. Like, don't even worry about it. And then it ended up leading to like a bigger opportunity, though.
Yeah, that was the older woman who needed one patio chair assembled.
Yeah.
And I was already out running around. I had completed the jobs that I had scheduled for that day. It was like 2-3 o'clock, and on the way home, so I said, yeah, sure, I'll come by and assemble a patio chair for you. She was older. She's like a widow. I don't have anyone to help me out. So I went over there, and I didn't realize where she was living. She's at it's an apartment, and it's like an apartment building, but it's just a whole retirement community. So 5 floors of, little 500 square foot apartments. And, it's just basically a retirement facility. And so she had this little balcony out back that could only fit one patio chair. And, I was like, I have a minimum. I have a minimum charge where I try to put on jobs, right? Mm-hmm. And, which is $175, right? It buys me a couple hours of time, and, that's been a minimum charge. But I'm sitting here looking at this situation, like, how am I going to charge her $175 to put together a patio chair?
Yeah.
It took me, 20 minutes. I made her day. She was so thankful to have the help. It made me feel really good, right? I got to connect with someone and help someone in need, right? And then I like I said, I didn't realize where she lived. And the front desk, you checking in and out at the front desk and letting them know why I was there. They had me drop off a stack of business cards because people are calling for things all the time over there. So
it's a whole apartment complex basically now.
Yeah.
Apartment building, and now you got people calling in for left and right for jobs. That's awesome.
Little stuff, here and there.
Giver's gain. That's what they say. Giver's gain.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It was an opportunity, and that's what I like about having my business, right? If I was in a corporate environment,
But what do you mean you didn't get paid on the job? We sent you out there,
right.
and
her phone call probably never would have even made it to me, right? It wouldn't have made it past the office. No, sorry, we have a minimum.
But you being an entrepreneur, business owner, you can kind of see a bigger vision. Mm-hmm. Like in that moment of what's happening, like, okay, like,
right.
And nobody's telling you or criticizing you for a decision you made.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I think that's what's big about being a business owner, entrepreneur. The scary part And the amazing part is that it's really on you and these decisions that you're making, whether your business is going to succeed or market it the right way or promote it or brand it, you know, because you overcharge a lady and she tells everybody that guy overcharged, and now you lost a potential 100+ people who wanted to call you because they had this wrong interpretation about you. But you looked out for this lady, helped her out. She loved it. Now she's telling, you know, she told 10 more people about you, 20 more people about you.
Yeah. That's the idea.
Craftsman Consulting, man.
That's the idea.
Anything else you want to let these guys know about your business, about your brand, about you?
No. I think we covered a good chunk of it.
Yeah, love it, man.
Keep going.
Thank you for coming on. No, I think we're at about an hour right now. You just try to keep it 50 minutes to an hour. Yeah. I think about 50 minutes,
Yeah. Seems like it.
But yeah, thank you for coming on my podcast. This is Studio Caption Advertising. Make sure you guys tune in, follow, like, and subscribe if you haven't already. And like again, this is Craftsman Consulting. Hit them up for any type of projects you may have around the house or at your building or whatever you might have going on. If you need help with it, my mans can take care of it. Studio Caption Advertising. Thank you guys again. Awesome. Love that.